I'm Stacey Marie Ishmael, managing editor of crypto for Bloomberg News. And this is Bloomberg Crypto, a daily Bloomberg iHeart podcast. It's Tuesday, March 14th. Here's a fact for you. We're barely 3 months into 2023, and already crypto companies have cut thousands of jobs this year. This is consistent with what's been happening in tech and finance across the board. There have been multiple rounds of layoffs at places like Twitter, job cuts at Meta and Google, and even at big investment banks like Goldman Sachs. In crypto, the cuts are across the board, including at big names like Galaxy Digital, Genesis, and Chainalysis. Some, like the beleaguered crypto-friendly bank Silvergate Capital and lender Amber Group, have cut as much as 40% of their workforces. It's also true that some companies, even in this environment, are hiring. Among the crypto firms planning to add staff this year is Circle Internet Financial, the company behind one of the largest stablecoins. When I spoke to their CEO, Jeremy Allaire, he said a big hiring focus this year will be on software developers and on expanding globally.
We are primarily hiring engineers and product leaders. And then we are continuing to expand around the world. And so we're opening up more outposts because we see there's a lot of global demand for what we do. And so we want to do that. But principally, this is all about the incredible opportunity to develop intellectual property.
So what does the state of hiring and firing in crypto suggest about the general health of the digital asset industry? Bloomberg reporter Hannah Miller joins me now to discuss the latest. Hannah, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm always of two minds when, talking about things like layoffs in tech and finance and crypto, because in as much as you could talk about the macroeconomic environment and interest rates, fundamentally what we're talking about is people who had jobs no longer having jobs. But what we've certainly been seeing is in crypto, in tech, in finance, there have been what feels like so many waves of layoffs. We're getting into the thousands, and in the case of the tech industry more broadly, tens of thousands of people. What are the prospects looking like in 2023? If you're a graduate coming out of Stanford or somewhere, are you still thinking, I definitely want to work in the crypto industry?
Yeah, I think for the crypto industry, it's a big wake-up call. I mean, these layoffs have been happening for a long time now. I mean, they started before we saw layoffs in the mainstream tech industry as well as in finance. But it's been really interesting to see just company after company within the crypto space cut further and further. And there is this question of how much more can they cut?
Mm-hmm.
Like how are they? Is there any more fat to trim? So it's pretty. I think it's a very stark contrast to when you saw that crypto was a really hot sector for people to go into. You saw people leaving very cushy jobs at Google, Meta, to jump over to a crypto company to get a token bonus, a equity in a startup that they thought really had promise. It's definitely a different story now.
To your point, it's not just a different story, it's kind of a mixed story, right? Like we heard from Jeremy Allaire, CEO of Circle, saying that they're really excited about being able to hire more developers and they're looking at global expansion. Where are these pockets of optimism coming from, despite the broader environment you've just described?
Yeah, well, I think for some companies, they were able to raise a lot of money during the crypto boom. They have a lot of runway that they can use to last through this crypto winter. So there are companies that still have cash to play with, and they can draw in new hires. They can snap up developers who maybe just got laid off of that Google job and are really looking for a new opportunity. So some companies are definitely still hiring, and hot areas are definitely developers, people who specialize in security. That's always a concern in crypto. So, I think for some startups that are just starting out, like that's like having someone who knows cybersecurity, who can help, beef up protection on a platform, that's a good person to have. But yeah, there still is a need for engineers among certain companies who definitely raised at big valuations and had big funding rounds during 2021, early 2022.
So what I'm hearing is if you're graduating or if you're one of those folks who's like, I don't need to go to college because life works in your favor that way, and you have technical skills, then you as a person have a reason to be optimistic because that's the sort of the profile, the skill set that these companies are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, you might not get the cushy benefits that you would have at Google or Meta. I mean, even those companies are sort of slashing, things like laundry at the office or, what time you have to stay at the office to get a meal. It's just things like that. You might not, you might have to set aside even if you are going for a mainstream tech job. Mm-hmm. But within crypto, yeah, there are still people who are very passionate about the space who are going in. They're looking at programming languages that they would need to learn to work at a blockchain platform. So whether it's Rust or Solidity, those types of skills are in demand. So yeah, I mean, I think even though the broader picture is pretty bleak, like you said, there are these pockets of hope where, there are companies that are still hiring, still looking for people.
Let's talk about some of the companies that have laid a lot of folks off. So, we have this running tally of job cuts, not just in crypto. Our colleagues in tech have one for, tech layoffs. Our colleagues on finance, like these are the biggest banks that have had layoffs. But the names for crypto, it's like blockchain.com, 28% at one point, Coinbase, 20% at one point. Crypto.com, 20%. Silvergate, crypto-friendly bank that's very much in the news at the moment, 40%. Genesis, 30%. One of my questions for you is, we talked several months ago at this point that these companies started with departures at the top. It was like the summer of executive departures at crypto. CEOs were leaving, COOs were leaving, managing directors were leaving or being asked to leave or seizing the opportunity to spend time with their families. Have these layoffs filtered down into the ranks, or are they still kind of concentrated in more senior people from what you can tell?
I think it's been a trickle down, that this is affecting just your regular employee who is checking their email in the morning and might not know whether there's a letter there about them leaving. So it's something that's affecting all ranks within companies. And it's also affecting people with technical talent too. It's not just, your marketing folks or, the comms team or whatever. It's something that's hitting people at all levels, all different types of backgrounds. So it'll be interesting to see going forward, how crypto execs are going to handle this. In some cases, some of these companies have brand new leadership who are, figuring out the ropes, trying to lead these companies forward. But yeah, it's definitely something that we're keeping a close eye on as we report on the industry.
In addition to companies that have big operations in the United States, you've also been reporting on folks based in Asia, for example, one of them being Amber Group, who were in that category of having, laid off 40% of its workforce, scrapped bonuses, had managers take salary cuts. I think they canceled a sponsorship deal they had with Chelsea FC. Is it that this is a kind of a global problem? Are there any geographies that have been hit harder than others?
Yeah, it's been interesting to see in Asia what's been happening there because the crypto regulatory environment in some ways is advancing further there. We've actually seen a reversal in Hong Kong, in terms of their crypto policies. They're actually becoming a little bit more friendly to digital assets. Singapore is still a hotbed for crypto activity. But yeah, I mean, geographies that have been hit hard, Asia has definitely seen some layoffs. I mean, Coinbase, for example, is winding down operations in its Japan office. Europe has also been hit hard. I remember with Amber, the layoffs that were happening there, they were hitting Europe first before going to, their offices in Asia. And with Amber specifically, it's very interesting for me. I mean, this is a company that's raised a lot of money over the years. For them, they grew very, very quickly. And kind of where they're at now is reversal. They're back to their roots in a way, because it's a much smaller workforce that they're dealing with. It's like 200 to 300 people versus more than 1,000 when they were at their height. So I think for some of these companies, they grew super quickly, built out their teams, hired everyone when there was a bull market, and now they're sort of reconsidering things and saying, hey, maybe I did grow a little too fast and going back to basics.
We'll be right back with more from Bloomberg reporter Hannah Miller. One of the capital D discourse things that are happening right now as it relates to layoffs at places like Meta and Twitter is this idea of tech companies and to a certain extent crypto companies trying to get rid of middle managers, right? And there's this narrative about middle managers, they just send emails all day. They're not really doing the real work of so-called engineers, and they're also not the senior executives making the decisions about things. The folks who are, say, middle managers will often point to the fact of okay, well, we are the primary coordinators of the big ideas that are coming down from the C-suite and the people who have to make them happen. We're helping people prioritize, we're helping people ship. Have you seen other cycles where layoffs look like they're being used to flatten the hierarchy of companies? And do these companies tend to reintroduce hierarchy in boom times, or are we seeing something really different now?
Yeah, I think in the past there was, companies that gravitated towards a flat structure. I remember there were some crypto companies, they didn't even have formal titles. They wanted to have this sense of camaraderie, that everybody's equal. It's just about building. It's not about where you rank. But I think the fact of the matter is that, companies like Twitter are now dealing with these changing structures, that they want to just streamline everything and, cut out who they can. And yeah, the middle manager is going to be a good target for that. So looking ahead, it'll be interesting to see whether in the crypto space that they kind of go back to tradition and having a more structured environment just to maybe put things in perspective as they sort of right the ship here. But I think corporate structure is very interesting. And right now in tech and crypto, there are a lot of models for it. So it'll be interesting to see which ones survive and thrive.
And to that point about there being a lot of models, it seems like the most consistent narrative we're hearing from a lot of crypto companies is, one, we're excited about hiring engineers. Two, we're looking for growth opportunities outside of the United States. And in those conversations, various folks have mentioned opportunities in the UAE and Dubai, for example. And three, this idea, to your point, of focus, right? Really picking an area of expertise, perhaps not launching an NFT marketplace that no one is asking for, and really trying to identify what those core strengths are. You also report a lot on the VC side of this question. Are you seeing kind of a similar narrowing of focus on the VC side? You mentioned security earlier in terms of themes that they might be excited about. Is anything changing about their approach?
Yeah, well, the pace of deals is just slowed in general. VCs are taking their time more when they're looking at companies, whether they want to invest in them. And the other thing, too, is that they're looking for more traditional things. They want a board seat. They want they want some sort of oversight to be in place. So those things, you're seeing a return to traditional values in venture capital when it comes to investing in crypto. And yes, I would say there's, some increased specialization, that they're looking for companies that maybe just want to narrow the focus to infrastructure or, security, or maybe they're, specifically into gaming NFTs. But at the same time, I have seen some VCs gravitate towards other industries, including artificial intelligence, because that's obviously really hot right now. So I remember I was talking to a VC who was we want to hire someone who can do AI, and
just the whole thing AI by themselves.
So it's, I think they're also sort of spreading their bets as well, even though they want the companies they invest in to be more specialized.
Yeah. What was the thing that folks at Andreessen Horowitz used to say before they blocked all the journalists on Twitter? Software will eat the world.
Yes.
And maybe it'll be AI will eat the world, and we'll see how well that turns out.
Yeah.
So more to come on that topic, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you.
That was Bloomberg reporter Hannah Miller. You can find more of her reporting on the Bloomberg Terminal and on Bloomberg.com. And be sure to check out our twice-weekly crypto newsletter, Bloomberg Crypto. This is Bloomberg Crypto, a daily podcast from Bloomberg and iHeartRadio. For more shows from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Send us your comments, questions, or suggestions for the show to crypto@bloomberg.net. The supervising producer of Bloomberg Crypto is Vicky Vergolina. Our senior producer is Janet Babin. Our producers are Mohammed Farouk and Sharon Barrero. Our associate producers are Ty Butler and Moses Undum. Desta Wonderad is our engineer. Original music by Leo Sidran. I'm Stacey Marie Ishmael. We'll be back tomorrow.